Time for our last chapter in Module 1, Chapter 4, Ethics in Sport Organizations. Here are some examples of ethical issues in sports. An NFL team is accused of altering the air in a playoff game footballs. Sound familiar? The NCAA football players participate in sexual violence and their coaching staff supports them. Major League Baseball players use banned substances to improve performance. A state high school athletic association policy on transgender athletes forces those athletes into competing under their incorrect gender. Fans shout racial slurs at opposing players. International officials accept bribes to swing votes for the selection of the city for the World Cup, host city, Investigations reveal state-sponsored systematic doping programs which protect dirty athletes. A well-known international gymnastics coach is accused of sexual misconduct involving athletes. All true. So what's your point of view? Looking at the list of ethical issues on the previous slide or in your textbook, or using examples of other issues that have occurred recently, what do you feel are some of the greatest ethical challenges facing sport organizations today? Think about that for a minute. Some ethical considerations for sport managers: professionalism, equity, personnel concerns, governance and policies, league and franchise issues, matters of social justice. How does a sport manager know how to do the right thing? Some thoughts on ethics. An organization's ethics are the collective behavior of its employees. If each employee acts ethically, the actions for the organization will be ethical too. The starting place for ethics, therefore, is you. Ethical considerations leading to fair play are integral, not optional elements of all sports activity, sports policy, and management, and apply to all levels of ability and commitment, including recreational as well as competitive sport. Some issues and considerations requiring ethical analysis: non-discrimination, equity in sporting participation, fair play, inclusive facilities and equipment, protection against the abuse and violence, safety and security, sports-related labor conditions, employment and hiring practices, as well as right to due process. We get to fight our cause or try to explain why we're correct. Access to information, freedom of speech, right to privacy, environmental violations, displacements of persons for sporting events, access and availability of resources and financial spending. That's a lot of issues and considerations to consider, isn't it? Ethical dilemmas. Important values come into conflict. The decision maker or sport manager must make a choice between those values. Multiple stakeholders may be involved, and significant consequences exist for all of them. So here's for your point of view. A star athlete is arrested for drinking or driving while intoxicated 1 week before the final game in the league championship. In your opinion, should the player be allowed to play? It's a tough one because you're innocent till proven guilty, but usually if they've got you for DWI, they've got you for DWI. What do you think? Ethical decision-making model. First, that you want to identify the correct problem to solve. Gather all pertinent information. Explore codes of conduct relative to the profession or this particular dilemma. Examine personal values or beliefs. Consult with other industry. List decision options. Look for a win-win situation if possible. Ask how public scrutiny of your decision might affect your family. Sleep on it. Don't rush to a decision. Make the best decision possible and then evaluate the decision over the time. Try and learn from it. Corporate social responsibility represents the policies, practices, and initiatives of a company commits to in order to govern themselves with honesty, transparency, and have a positive impact on social environment well-being. While speaking out using the voice of a CSR on the side of just, causes may come at a bigger cost. A bigger question to ask is this: what is the cost of remaining silent? Measures of corporate social responsibility, and this just isn't sport organizations, this is any organization. You have to look at the economic, the legal, the ethical, and the philanthropic, meaning charitable responsibility. Do you believe sport organizations today do a better or worse job of incorporating CSR into sport organizations of the past than sports organizations of the past, and why? And how could they improve? I definitely think that there is a greater emphasis on responsibility, social responsibility now, and you see it in things like the Walter Payton Award, Man of the Year Award, that uh, honors philanthropic endeavors. Ethics and sport managers need to understand the effects of their decision and the number of people affected by their decision, shape the culture of the organization, have an impact on the organization's ethical climate, and its stance on being a good corporate citizen.